All right, good afternoon.
In terms of health updates, do you have anything on? I'll read the list.
I'm going to cover this right now. I have not had my medical meeting yet.
Okay.
Getting back at 4 a.m., this morning and getting through the tape. We haven't had that yet, so I don't have any updates yet. We'll have more later today. So I haven't had my medical meeting yed.
There was a report that Jernigan's out roughly a month.
Yeah, I haven't had that medical meeting, so I don't know specifically. I know he was seen in a boot, I think, after the game, but until I get further notice, I don't know what's going on yet.
Were the injuries to Deshaun and Alshon and Dallas more precautionary to hold them out, or could they have played if it was a playoff game or something that was more important?
Yeah, I mean, we evaluated Dallas. Obviously he was feeling something there, and so we evaluated him, during pregame, and just, decided to hold him at that point. Same with Deshaun and Alshon. Theirs was more in-game. It's hard to say if it were a must game, a playoff situation. I would think that they would try to gut it out, but it's hard to say.
Do you think Jernigan's injury is the worst of the bunch?
I feel that, in my gut that it could be, but again, until I get more information, I really don't know.
You touched on this post-game yesterday, but when you have Dallas Goedert out pregame, and then you have Jackson, and then you have Jeffrey, you can kind of game plan for maybe one of them not being there, but how much does that change your game plan when all three of them guys are out?
It affects it. It affects it a lot. If you were to look at my call sheet this morning, you're going to see a lot of scratch outs on plays and different things. And one thing that I said after the game too is with Mike Rowe, Jeff Stoutland, my offensive staff, making the adjustments that we needed to make, and then coaching those young guys up, Mac Hollins, JJ. And what's interesting, if you watch the game as we did this morning, I mean, Zach is telling guys where to go. Nelly's telling, we're moving guys. Our pieces are moving, and we're putting guys in positions that didn't practice in those positions during the week, and still had a chance at the end of the game. Took the lead and had a chance. So my hat's off to those guys for hanging in there.
Slow starts were prevalent pretty much most of last year. When you self-scouted last all season, what would you find was the number one reason for not scoring points that first and how have you kind of tried to address that this year?
Yeah, I just have to find the magical plays.
Do you think it's plays, or do you think it's more execution?
Yeah, it's always the plays.
With the injuries,
That's on me. So I got to do a better job.
with the injuries you have now, how difficult is it going to be to kind of manage the roster based on keeping spots open for some players who might not be able to play, but also having enough guys?
Yeah, that's the chess match we got to find out in these next couple of days. We have a couple games here now, in 11 or 12 days, so we'll make it work. I mean, that's just what we do. We find a way, we make it work, we coach the guys up that are going to play, and we go play.
On the fourth down, was Calf the same one that he was having trouble with in the training camp?
Yes.
On the 4th and 14, the long pass to Agholor, after the drop, the one that you guys got, Carson said he went over to you after the timeout and suggested that play. Is that right?
We were suggesting a bunch of plays at that time. We were just trying to find the right mix, kind of anticipating what they were going to be in defensively, and I mean, 4th and 14, you're kind of in your desperation mode. So that was a play that we had in the game plan, and another one that, however, we had to move some guys around to get them in that right spot, and great play by Carson and Nelly on that one.
Going back to this time last week, what was the thinking of carrying only 2 tight ends and keeping the extra cornerback?
Well, we had confidence in our 2 tight ends. We went in, with the game plan of executing with a lot of the play action pass game with 2 tight ends, the run game with 2 tight ends. I mean, it was just felt comfortable, with both guys, and then in our 11 personnel, having Zach and Dallas working there, and then having the extra DB just available on special teams, and then if needed in the secondary, keeping that extra guy up.
Doug, you had 4 players be evaluated for head injuries. We know Carson was by the spotter. Were the other 3 also, because the spotter came down and told them that they had to have them examined?
Yeah, it was by the spotter and also by the officials that told us they needed to be evaluated during the game.
And Carson said after the game that he was very frustrated that they didn't evaluate him right away. It came right at the beginning of a drive.
Have you guys reached out to the NFL? Are you going to do anything to follow up on what went wrong here and how this can be corrected?
I mean, we'll have communication, obviously, about it, but that stuff is out of our control. I mean, if they see it, they're going to pull the player, and it's out of our control. It's out of my hands. I can't do anything about it. That's a medical issue. It's a player safety issue. I'm sure we'll have discussions on it, but quite frankly, that's out of our hands.
There's a time gap between the time he returned to the
That's
sideline.
the part we got to have communication, dialogue with, and just make sure that they're seeing the same things we're seeing. But again, it's out of our hands when the spotters see something.
Is it typically quicker than that?
Usually it's right after the play. I mean, that's typically when it happens. But in this case, it was a few plays later. So again, we got to figure out why.
What was the biggest reason why you went away from the run? Was it Goddard's absence, the way the game was playing out, combination?
A little of both. You know, we struggled to run the ball, something we kind of pride ourselves on. Last week I might have mentioned that we were gonna face a much better Atlanta Falcon defense than we saw in Week 1. I mean, this is the NFL, and there's a lot of pride on that side, and they're well coached, and so we knew that going into this football game. We were going to try the run and try to establish it. We struggled a little bit there. We got to make those corrections, and that's a big part too of with a lot of the personnel changes, with tight ends and things like that got us a little bit away from it. I'm not going to make an excuse, but it does affect it just a little bit.
What has prevented Miles from getting off to a faster start, and where's your confidence level in him right now?
I'm really confident in Miles. I think the more opportunities he gets, he'll get better. I mean, he missed some things, young running back, missed a couple of holes, a couple of holding calls. He tried to bounce outside, and we got a couple of holding calls, which, are going to happen. So there's some things that he can get better, but our confidence in him is really high, extremely high, and we're going to continue to play him and get him the reps.
His instinct right now seems to be to try to bounce things or to slide. Are you, as a coaching staff, impressing upon him? Sometimes it's better to gain a yard or two by going straight ahead as opposed to
these are all things we'll show him on tape. When the guys come in and make the corrections from the game. And again, it comes from playing and then watching himself on film and making the corrections.
Doug, have you identified the play that Jernigan got hurt on?
I have not yet.
You had a lot, you mentioned the penalties and the run game. You had a lot of offensive line penalties in this game. I think 5 accepted, 7 called. What was going on there? Was it the noise?
A little bit of the noise. It was an active front, a little more than what we had seen. These guys, obviously the crowd noise getting off the ball. We know Grady Jarrett's a really good, player from the standpoint of getting off the ball and then increasing the gap. And a couple times we just we overset. We just set too wide, and they penetrated the A or B gap. And again, corrections that we can make and learn from and be better.
Carson getting hit so much early affected his play, and how do you think he played overall? And do you factor the punishment into that?
I mean, obviously, again, this is a physical, violent game. Quarterbacks are going to get hit. We saw 2 quarterbacks yesterday in the league get hit, or one get hit and one on a throw. So it's part of the game. And it's one thing you love about Carson is his toughness. You'd love to see him, maybe throw the ball a little bit sooner here and there, but the fact that he performed well yesterday and really kept us in this football game. The throw to Mack in the fourth quarter was unbelievable. For him to escape the pocket like he did a couple times was unbelievable. And those are things you can't really coach. You don't really teach those things. I mean, that's just natural, God-given instinct. So it's hard to take that away from a player, and yet at the same time, you still want him to protect himself best he can, but he's making plays for you, and not going to take that from him.
Have you spoken to Nelson, and what do you make of?
Have I spoken to Nelson?
Have you spoken to Nelson, and what do you make of his game yesterday, the plays he made, and obviously the plays he didn't make?
Yeah, I talked to Nelson after the game, and just before we got on the bus and to go to the airport. And I thought he played really well. From he played basically 2 spots yesterday, having to move around, and it just shows his mental capacity with the offense and where he is. He made some outstanding catches yesterday as well. And then I told him after the game, I says, one play is not going to define him or our season. And it's week 2 of the National Football League. We got a bunch of football left, and he's a great player for us. And I told him just to keep his head up, keep working, and we're gonna find more ways to win these games than lose them going into the future.
The 2-point conversion. The way he bounced back after that drop, I mean, back in your first season, like that probably would have affected him.
Correct.
I mean, does that kind of show his growth?
It does, yeah.
Do you expect Carson to practice on Wednesday?
Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does he feel today? I mean,
I haven't seen him today. Players are off today, so I haven't seen him.
What happened on Carson's second interception? Did a pattern get broken off there, or what happened?
No, we ran a out and up with Ertz, and he was on the linebacker, had him beat. Carson had to move to his left and just couldn't get anything on the throw, and it just nothing there on it.
On the 2-point conversion, what's your understanding of why that was overturned, and what else could Carson have done in that
It's the new
situation?
rule. It's the new rule now. Basically, because Carson was diving, you're considered giving yourself up, and so wherever your knee touches, you're down. Whether you're touched or not, you're down at that spot because you're diving and you're giving yourself. No different if your quarterback is sliding on a scramble out in the field. It's the same. You're going to be down at that spot, so it was short.
And so did he no longer dive for the end zone?
No, I mean, the dive was fine. We just got to be aware that if you can, keep your knee up. But, I mean, that's just the rule.
Is that called, or did he read that?
That was a read. The play was actually designed for Ertz on that one, and they defended that really well, but they also gave us that lane, and Carson just reacted and took it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.